My name is Shreya Ganguly and I'm primarily an author and student. I've not published any books yet, but I hope to do so in the next few years. I'm currently working on a novel and I have had 3 short stories published and I'm working on a few others. And I'm also a high school student and I occasionally make videos for this channel all about books. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about all the books that I got for my birthday this year. My birthday was last month on July 21st, and I usually like to make a video every year in which I discuss the books that I have obtained for my birthday that particular year. So I don't have that many books this year, as many as I had last year. I believe I had about 7 books last year, while I only have 4 physical books, but I also did get a few books on my Kindle. So I'm going to start with the classics, and the first book is The Tenant of Wildwood Hall by Bronte. This is the Wordsworth Classics edition. It isn't one of the best editions because it did get a little bit damaged on the spine and the fonts really aren't the best, but overall the book is really nice because it has the full book. It's complete and unabridged, and it has really solid introduction and notes. So if you would like to read this book with all the references, then I think this is an edition I would recommend. It's also great if you're a student because Wordsworth Classics aim to provide classics for really cheap. So if you want to read a lot of classics, then this is great. The Tenant of Wildwood Hall is a story of Helen who flees in abusive marriage to come and live in a different neighborhood, and she is the new tenant of this place called Wildwood Hall. I don't know much about this book, so I don't think it would be right for me to talk about this book in great detail because I have not read it. But so far, this is what I think the book is going to be about, and I'm really excited. I've already read 2 Bronte books. I've read Agnes Grey by Bronte and Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Out of the 2 novels, I'm sure it will be quite clear to you that Jane Eyre is the stronger of the 2. It is a story of a governess. Agnes Grey is also the story of a governess, but it's a much quieter book, and this one is definitely a lot more violent than Agnes Grey. So I'm really excited to read The Tenant of Wildwood Hall. I'm hoping that I'll read this book for October this year, which is only in 1.5 months. It'll be in October. Next, we have Othello by William Shakespeare. I think this exact edition is the black and white publications. And yeah, it's amazing to have a copy of Othello. And this is a tragic love story between Othello and Desdemona, and I think for the most part it takes place in Venice. I really want to read more Shakespeare plays. I've read quite a few of his poems, particularly his sonnet. One of my favorite of his sonnets that I keep going back to is Sonnet 116, which has a whole kind of like stanza about beauty, and this one is one of his tragedies. We are studying Romeo and Juliet this year in 9th grade English, my freshman year of high school, but I don't think we study Othello in 9th grade. I believe we study Othello and Macbeth in 10th grade, but I'm really excited to read Othello because I do honestly think that Othello is going to be the perfect introduction to reading some more of Shakespeare plays. And this book is Emily of New Moon by Lucy Maud Montgomery. It's a story of Emily Starr, who aspires to be a writer. I have read quite a few of Lucy Maud Montgomery's novels. I've read Anne of Green Gables, and I'm really hoping to read some more of the sequels. I've also read The Story Girl, and this year I've read Magic for Marigold. But I'm really hoping to start the Emily trilogy by reading Emily of New Moon. The sequels are Emily Climbs and Emily's Quest. But Emily of New Moon is considered to be one of the most autobiographical of Lucy Maud Montgomery's novels, but at the same time it is also about Emily climbing her own alpine path because she wants to be a writer, but then it's about so much more. It is about losing her father at a young age, and it is not considered as lighthearted as the Anne of Green Gables books. And the last book, I think I should talk about this book and its sequel. It is not a classic. The three books I just talked about are all classics. This is quite a recent release. It's been published like in the last year. Um, it is a young adult contemporary novel, and it is written by Lucy Powrie, and I'm sure that if you watch any videos about books, you must be watching Lucy's videos. The name of her channel is Lucy the Reader, and I will link it below in the description box, as well as her website where you can read some more of her books. She has published 2 books so far. She's published The Paper and Heart Society, which I have a physical copy of, and Read with Pride, which is on my Kindle. I'm going to show you in a minute. But The Paper and Heart Society has been published. It feels a little bit different to be reading new releases. A lot of people ask, because I read a lot of classics, that if I read other books that might not be considered the same in terms of quality, like I wouldn't say this is the same, but it's nice to read some newer books sometimes, particularly because this is a book about books, and I find Lucy's writing style very much like my own, and I feel like it's different to a lot of the young adult books that are being published now, a lot of the contemporary books. It does have a kind of feel to it, the descriptions of the characters and the setting, which make it a lot better than the books that are being published now. So that's why. I finished reading this book really quickly because for the most part it just felt like I was reading my own writing, and if this book hadn't been written, I probably would have written a book about a book club, but I've got a different idea now, so I'm sure I'll be writing that one instead. But The Paper and Heart Society is about Tabby Brown, or her name is actually Tabitha, and she moves from Cheltenham to Dorset, and Lucy, I think, wrote this book when she was 17, and then the book was published when she was 19. She is now 20, going to be 21. But this follows the story of Tabby when she moves into this new town, and she wants friends that enjoy reading, so she joins a book club called the Paper and Heart Society, and she finds out about this book club when she goes to the library. So tucked inside a copy of her favorite book, The Bell Jar by Sylvia Plath, she finds a flyer for the Paper and Heart Society. There she meets Olivia, Casey, Henry, and Ed. They're basically children who are her age. I suppose they're all high school students, and in the book club they all discuss books. They talk a lot about the books they love reading. Most of them love reading classics, but it also features some more modern books, and there is a Jane Austen dance party. There is a reenactment of the Hunger Games without the murder, and there's so many other events, and at the end of the book there is a literary road trip around the UK. I've never been to England, but this actually makes me want to go to England because now I can visit all these places. Lucy herself was actually the Bronte Parsonage, the Bronte Society's young ambassador for Emily Bronte's bicentenary year, I think last year. So she's been to the Bronte Parsonage many times, and she drew upon her own experiences while she was there in this book because she's actually been to the places. Also talks about the birthplace of Shakespeare and the Jane Austen Centre in Bath. Apart from just being a story about books, it's also about fear and the dangers of fear and kind of escaping that in order to find happiness, because she's really just escaping her past, Tabby, because she is looking to find some friends who will understand her, where she can talk about books because that's what she loves most, and find happiness with that. So yes, and then I have the sequel, Read with Pride. I think I said everything I wanted to say about Paper and Heart Society, but in the description box I will link below my reviews on Goodreads. I have very detailed reviews on Goodreads for both the Paper and Heart Society and Read with Pride. I don't know if you can see this, but this book right here is Read with Pride by Lucy Powrie, which is the sequel. And the first book follows the experiences of Tabby Brown over the summer before they start their final year of secondary school, which is GCSE year in the UK. But the second book, Read with Pride, actually follows Olivia Santos once they've already started school. And on the first day of school, Olivia discovers that her school library has restricted access to books with LGBTQ content, and she is very dejected at this thought because she is demisexual and knows how important it is for everyone to be represented in literature. But not just that, so instead what she decides to do is start a Read with Pride campaign. A lot of new characters are introduced in Read with Pride, but it's a school-wide movement where they all aim to read with pride, and by the end of it they find victory. So the second book is more about everyone being united amid their differences because they're doing something that they love. So these were all the books. These were the classics: Emily of Nemoon, Othello, Tenant of Wildwood Hall, as well as the new author and booktuber Lucy Powrie's The Paper and Heart Society. And I had her second book, Read with Pride, on my Kindle. These were all the books I got for my birthday. And I just wanted to let you know that Lucy, who is the author of The Paper and Heart Society, is also running the Classics Community 2020 Reading Challenge this year, and we're starting a Classics book club in the month of September. So in September we are reading the posthumous memoirs of Bras Cubas by Mikado Diaz. So if you would like to join in on that, then I would love for you to join in. Lucy and I are working together on this book club, so it would mean a lot to me. And I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please let me know in the comments down below what books you would recommend. Have a nice day. Bye, and happy reading.